What's up, guys? I'm Stone, the host of Zero Gravity, Apollo Media's NBA podcast. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button below and enjoy the clip from our latest episode. Chicago Bulls, they introduced a number of players and coaches and executives into the Ring of Honor this past weekend, including Phil Jackson, um, Jerry Krause, GM, architect, arguably, of the two dynasties, the two triple championship teams, with a little break
Yep.
in between, with Michael Jordan being told not to play basketball again by David Stern for a couple of years. Neither
Yep.
here nor there. But Jerry Krause was inducted into the Bulls Ring of Honor. When they announced his name and his graphic and his name and his face goes up on the Jumbotron, the Chicago Bulls fans boo. Boo Jerry Krause
Relentlessly.
for like, he delivered 6 championships to the city of Chicago through Chicago Bulls. So his widowed wife is sitting there. I can't remember her name, but Mrs. Krause is sitting there, waiting to hear cheers about Jerry Krause for what his accomplishments with the Chicago Bulls were, and all she got was boos to start. I think it started to change into cheers as the video went on, but the boos were loud enough to where that's the only thing that she could hear. She obviously breaks down into tears because she misses her husband, and he did accomplish a lot for the Chicago Bulls. And I think Last Dance has changed the perception of reality for those 90s Bulls teams, where everyone thinks that it was Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, and there was no one else behind the scenes doing all the work and getting that team set up and paying people and working with the salary cap that wasn't as big as it is today. Like, that's a difficult thing to do when you have
Right.
Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen on your team. Like, you got to navigate the salary cap, and he did it back then, and he made Michael Jordan happy enough to keep coming back and keep playing basketball, and made Scottie Pippen happy enough to keep coming back and playing basketball for the Chicago Bulls, and they won 6 titles. And the Bulls fans boo for I don't really understand it. Like, if my team won 6 titles, I am cheering incessantly for anyone and everyone that is
Right.
involved with those teams. Everyone.
It, it's no particular, this is probably the worst breakup that you could ever think of. When Jerry Krause left, or not left, but when he broke it all up, the Bulls were just dead for, what was it, 5, 10 years until they got D Rose, basically.
Yeah. Long time.
Um, Eddie Curry, Jamal Crawford. People forget Nazir Muhammad. I think he was on that
Kirk
team.
Heinrich.
Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. I feel really bad for the family, but I think that Michael Jordan, and people have said this on Twitter, and this was even before The Last Dance, Michael Jordan himself has done so much to keep his legacy alive while still making it act like he's doing it behind the scenes so it doesn't seem like a big deal. He tears people down like very bad, whether it be with his own words or like him kind of insinuating something. The Last Dance really showed everyone's ass. And I'm not saying that Michael Jordan is this some crazy evil man. He's one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but I think it is really a testament to his own demeanor, his own attitude, that he was almost scapegoating Jerry Krause in that entire situation, when Jerry Krause, I don't want to say was the glue, because if you really want someone to look at and someone to say fuck you to, it is that cheap bastard Jerry Reinsdorf. Or did I say his name
Yeah,
right?
you
Jerry
nailed it.
Reinsdorf? Perfect. Sorry, I just had to make sure I knew ball for a minute. But yeah, if you're gonna shit on anybody here, it's gonna be Reinsdorf. Look at the White Sox. They're in such a weird position. That classic 81 and 81 team. They're the Atlanta Hawks of the MLB. Nothing seems to get better with Chicago. And even years later, with their one shining moment that they had, their 6 shining moments that they had, we're still talking about it years later, not in the greatest of ways. And it's just sad that all this coverage, all of this, the Last Dance, all the documentary, the docuseries, it was great.
It's awesome.
It's just really, really sad to me that I think her name was Thelma. Thelma
Yeah,
had to
there it
just
is.
sit there and just deal with that, head on. And in what Ron Harper did, who was behind Thelma, that was one of the sweetest things you could really do in that situation. He just grabbed her from the
Yep.
shoulders and was like, "It'll be okay." I wish I can get a transcript. I would pay money to hear that transcript or to see that transcript, but it's just truly sad. They did, of course, boo him, and even after the breakup, because Krause was still there for a while.
Hmm.
But it's just, man, he's dead. He's dead. It's the widow. One of the worst looks I've ever seen, not only for a fan base, but for a team, for a league. One of the worst looks I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and what you're pointing out about Michael Jordan is that he is doing his best to make sure his legacy and his image is crystal clear and stays prominent, and people think of Michael Jordan as the GOAT, and whatever else you want to think about Michael Jordan, the shoes, the legacy, all of that just stays intact the entire time. And with those Bulls teams, you had too many personalities, I think. Phil Jackson, Jerry Krause, Reinsdorf, and Michael Jordan all in one room. You got to think about how many egos there are, how many people think that they are the reason that the Bulls are the way that the Bulls were. Like the reason that they won championships. Michael Jordan thinks it's because of him. It primarily was. He is the one dribbling and shooting the
Of course.
basketball. That's the biggest part. Phil Jackson, probably one of the bigger parts as well. He's the one that implemented the triangle and had the cohesiveness and the ability to work with multiple personalities on that team, including Dennis Rodman when you add him and he just goes on a bender in Vegas for 36 hours and they don't know where he is. Like that's a part of the Last Dance documentary. And then Reinsdorf is the owner, so then he thinks he's the reason that they're winning these championships. He's like, this is my team. I put them together. This is why it happened. And then Krause obviously is the architect and is the ability. He had the ability to scout these players and had all the scouts working underneath him and made the picks and made the free agent acquisitions, made the trades, put Phil Jackson in place, put Michael Jordan in place. Like, so he thinks he's the main architect. He's the reason why they won all these championships. So it's an egotistical battleground, essentially, is what's happening. And
Yes.
Jerry Krause is dead, so he can no longer be a part of this. But The Last Dance obviously comes out 3 years after he dies, and it's painted a certain way, which I think is the problem with sports or just documentaries in general now. People won't be a part of the documentaries unless they are able to be executive producers on said documentaries. While The Last
Right.
Dance was awesome because we got all of this uncovered footage that we had never seen before in the locker room, on the planes. Like you get in the hotels, like you just get all of this access that we would have never had if Michael Jordan didn't say yes. And if
Exactly.
we don't get Michael Jordan to say yes, we don't get The Last Dance. So we don't get 10 hours or 11 hours, how many ever hours it was of footage that we would have never seen in interviews and all these kinds of things. And it's awesome because it brings up memories of people that got to watch the Jordan teams. Like I don't know, 2 years old the last time the Bulls won a championship with Michael Jordan. So it's like I never got to experience it, but I've read books, I've seen documentaries. But that was the most in-depth thing that you got to see. And you got to see how everybody acted. And it was very cool. But the problem with sports documentaries is that you got to have the player or the person or the personality to be the executive producer. So it is going to be tainted in a certain way. And we have to take every documentary that we view with a grain of salt if they're going to be a part of the documentary. It's just how it is.
Exactly. Man, that was a great point that you brought up because honestly, we could just talk about the Jordan aspect of it and how he wanted it to be, his way. We'll never know the exact conversations and what that went down, not only behind the scenes during his career, but during the making of the documentary, because they said that it was like 20 years in the making, right?
Yeah, they had the
Like
footage
just
for
outside of
20
the
years.
footage
Yeah.
itself. Yeah, yeah. Like just outside of the direct footage, like they had to make everything work. So it really just showed like it makes me wonder, what is LeBron going to do for his documentary in 10, 20, 30 years? Is it going to be another Jordan situation? Are we going to look at LeBron differently? Because we're seeing it, and I hate to bring this back to LeBron, but we're seeing LeBron's, teammates, coaches, and I'm not saying this is unrightfully, but a lot of these people are being scapegoated as, cancers, as even Ty Lue.
Mm-hmm.
Like and now Ty Lue is just killing everybody with the Clippers, man.
They're awesome.
Amazing. But it makes me wonder, sports documentaries, yeah, you do definitely have to take them with a grain of salt. And like I said, it was a great point by you. I didn't even really think about it like that. But it's definitely just something to always consider, always think about it. This is media literacy training. When you when you watch The Last Dance, it's great. The stories, the quotables. I've probably seen it like 3 times. I might even do a rewatch again. It's been like a year and a half for
Yeah.
me, so I might have to run that back. But I truly did. Regardless, point being, you don't boo someone's widow. I know, of course, they weren't booing her, but it makes it so sad to me that they had that entire that almost not the entire team, but I know Longley was there. I know Ron Harper was there. A couple other guys on the squad that were there who haven't seen each other in
Right.
years, and you just completely soured the night by that. And there was no immediate when I was watching the I think it was a League Pass clip. Which all the best stuff always happens on the fan arena
Yes.
cam on League Pass.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I've seen so much this year. We'll definitely do a League Pass recap at the end of this year.
Yes.
But it's hearing the arena audio. You know, it didn't sound too bad. You know, you only heard a couple like a couple boos, but then you saw the fan made video on the phone, and they were raining down. Man, it was harsh, and the fact that that was just their immediate reaction to, you know, years and years of success that honestly a lot of those people in the arena probably haven't even seen with their own eyes. I mean, I've gone to a lot of NBA games recently, and I can't tell you there's probably 50-50, people under 30 versus people over 30. I mean, why are we booing something that we don't really know why we're booing? We
Right.
just hear other people booing and we just go with
Yeah.
it. I don't know. It just makes no sense to me. There was it's so sad that this had to happen. Jerry Krause wasn't a saint. In fact, the reason why he did blow everything up was because everybody was getting old. Everybody was getting old, and everybody was wanting more money. What can you do with that? Scottie Pippen had 2 or 3 good years. One of them with my Rockets. That Charles Barkley Pippen year, man, that's one of my favorite basketball reference pages to go to. I'll even do it like once every other month or so. But all those Longley retired. He had bad ankles. Even Jordan just dipped off. I mean, what were you going to do with that team? And I don't know. Jerry Krause won 6 rings. There's not much else we can say about it. The success speaks for itself. And Chicago, everyone has to live with it at this point, especially.
Yeah. When you think about sports legends and architects of great teams, there's very few names that you can really name. Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots, Jerry Krause of
Nick
the
Saban.
Chicago Bulls, and like other than that, I mean, I guess you count Red Auerbach for a lot of the Boston Celtics success, and I don't know, like there's just not a lot of names that you can name of GMs that were the true architects of teams that put teams together and fielded many championships. There's 3, 4, 5 names maybe in sports history, not in basketball history, in sports
The
history.
fact that he's one of them, speaks volumes. No matter how good or bad of a person he was, because Last Dance didn't make him look like a good
No,
person. He got it done. The team got it done. Phil Jackson got it done. Reinsdorf, of all people, got it done.
yeah,
Enjoy what you had. Don't ruin it. That's like well, maybe not like, but that's like the Rockets fans booing Rudy T at the Toyota Center. Like, why? What are we
doesn't
doing?
really matter.
I don't see the point.